thing took place, and they're being paid and to do this. So, and many people believe that. Okay, so these things can be very powerful. So basically, the algorithms maximize your engagement by posting information that you are likely to interact with. It makes it addictive. Okay. So what happens basically is, in all of these places, like-minded people gather together to share like-minded messages and photographs, and they're creating a parallel universe, okay, which they all believe that this is what is going on, okay, and that's how all these conspiracy theories and fake stories seem to get stronger and stronger, and humor is used, outrage is used. Outrage is extreme anger. One thing about anger, anger feeds on itself. You go and make an angry man or woman they become more angry. So outrage has that thing. And so by planting outrageous messages, like Hillary Clinton is running a child prostitution ring, you already hate Hillary Clinton. Oh, now she's also a pimp, huh? I didn't know that. Okay. So you're getting even more angry. That, whatever, is also a pimp now. You know. So outrage has that. And again, this is among like-minded people. You can't spread it. So they know how, or at least they have a good idea how to target, when to target, and so on. Next, please. So let's wrap this up and ask some general questions. What to do about this? You guys should be thinking about it. Okay? What to do about this? Until now, the social media are not regulated anywhere in the world. They have been given a free hand, and whereas print and radio and TV in all countries of the world are regulated. You need to have a license to operate. Okay? Print media don't have those kinds of restrictions, but print media also have certain rules for regulation. But social medias don't seem to have any. And now I think we are reaching a time when more and more government social media are going to be so powerful and affect elections and so on, maybe the governments must come in. It's also bad news because governments in general, we don't want them to enter because they have their own pet things, and we want freedom. We, as journalists, as newsmakers, we have always prized that we don't want the heavy hand of the government. We don't want censorship. We want free media. So that's always there. So that is a problem, you know, if government comes in, but something you need to think about. Certainly, we have to have laws that open up the social media more to public view. Right now, they are opaque. We have no idea what's going on. How are ads selected? How are people, just not this, all the proprietary information, but some of the basic information which radio and TV companies, you know, are asked to give. Some people have even suggested, how about coming up with warnings? Like, for example, if you pick up a cigarette packet in India, you have to stare at those ugly pictures, you know. I don't know how anybody can smoke that much. You know, that guy has got a pumpkin here, you know. And anyway, yeah, it's like a pumpkin only. Big red stuff here. But anyway, gross things. So how about having pop-ups? So Facebook can have pop-ups. Anytime a site that is not, you know, that suspicious site, pop-up will come and say, do you really want to share this? Or our research has deemed that this story is false. Mali, so I don't know. I mean, not that all of these are feasible. I'm just throwing out some of the ideas. Pop-ups, very intrusive pop-ups. use warning in the form of pop-ups. Some have even experimented, it's not Facebook, where certain media that make you very angry are followed by other content that calm you down. That also seems nice, but then I don't want to give this kind of power to media to make us angry, make us sad, make us laugh. You know, we're all puppets, but that's the other thing, you know. For example, they have tried with other media, these, when US government has discovered that certain groups or certain people have been part of terrorist groups, like they are receiving terrorist messages from terrorist groups that are planting fake stories, making them, especially youth in Western countries who get influenced by the jihadist philosophy of these extremist groups like ISIS, and they get so angry. They have tried experiments like where they encourage of injecting messages that also talk about some of the dangers of extremism. You know, so different kinds of media. You know. But then there's a general idea. Why should social media be free? You know, earlier we made the argument that radio and TV need to be controlled because the airwaves, or rather the spectrum through which we get our television and radio thing, is in limited supply. So because of the limited supply of radio spectrum, governments in every country control, because on this street only so many cars can be parked. Beyond that, there's no parking space for the cars. Similarly, in the radio spectrum, you know, each thing you get a license. So when you get a license, you get a frequency, and so you can only broadcast in that frequency, and nobody else will bother you. Okay, so like that, and that's in limited supply, and so that. But now people are saying that online media also, you know, should be looked at. Utility companies. What are utility companies? Companies that supply water, electricity, huh? Public utilities. You know, in this day and age, you know, we cannot function without electricity. Life is very difficult without piped water. No. So these are utilities. And so every society in the world, every government in the world treats public utilities, there are certain rules. For example, public utilities must be available to all, you know, like that. Why don't we treat online things as utility companies? Because now we have reached a stage where we cannot do without them. And so like today, online media is as important as what electricity was to the earlier generation, all right? And so impose the same kinds of restrictions on them as general utility companies, which means more monitoring and oversight, right? These are some of the things that have been put. So there are many ideas, but we still don't have a good clear way of how they can be controlled without hurting freedom of speech. And it's a very delicate question, you know, and also the problem is no one country can do anything because online is global media, right?
So, excuse me, I have same doubts here what you are explaining here. They explain the rules apply to print, radio and TV and social media. Under India, if I see Indian point of view, there is a press council of India, retired judge became the chairman for the press council of India. And there is a press council of India, he cannot control all the media. Like again, it's going to come out of the matter of the freedom of speech and expression article 19+1. So, could you explain me what is how they are going to control in the US perspective?
I don't know. I don't know how, but as I said, it is very difficult. These are all some ideas that are being put forward, and for all of us to think of how, because right now they are completely, they don't have any kind of control of any kind. So what to do about it? Especially if they can come and sway elections, you know, and create different, create problems in our society by inciting trouble or fake stories. So we don't know how to do that. So watch out now. See what the Indian government is going to do. Keep an eye on what the US government is going to do. How to approach this in such a way. There are no clear answers. What I am doing is some of the ideas that have been put out of to deal with them. Next, please.
Would it be gatekeeping, sir? Like you use certain words, automatically it gets blocked?
That's the end, no? Yeah, 1 second. That's the end, no? No, that's it. That's it. That's over. I'm sorry, your question?
So I said maybe it would be gatekeeping, like the moment you post something on social media which has certain words, AI will be required to handle that. The moment you say anger, hatred against somebody, you're using certain words, automatically it blocks it. Gatekeeping kind of.
But who is going to be the gatekeeper?
The social media services. If they don't do it, then it's a problem for them.
No, again, it's a matter of.
Some people and some constituencies are saying, at the same time, let's not make these huge companies into running things for us. You know, when Facebook will decide what to do this, after all, at the end of the day, they are private companies. They have not been elected by the people. And so giving too much of power, that is also an issue. Plus the sheer amount of information will make gatekeeping very difficult.
24 hours will not be.
Huh?
See, I have been, I am being troubled with the posts that people comments that people give to news that appears on, right? Times of India. There are stories coming in Times of India every day. I look at them every day, and especially stories dealing with either BJP party stories or Congress party stories. People are free to comment. Okay. Now, what kind of language that people use, right? There will be at least about 200 comments are there. There will be at least 100 comments in which 4-letter words F, Hindi, C, Hindi,
Yeah.
G. So many words and much worse words are used. Now, it's very simple. In fact, my son is very good in all this technology of programming and all that. I asked him, can't Times of India make a small program? Anybody who uses the 4-letter word FUCK, right, could not get posted. A message pop in that you're using 4 language, it will not be. Very simple. And my son showed, it doesn't take much time. It takes only half an hour for Times of India to do that. Why is it they're not doing it? Shouldn't have a responsibility. Now, when I read, those kind of items, on some items, I really feel very angry. I said, why are they talking this kind of language? Criticize Rahul Gandhi, criticize, Adinath, doesn't matter. But using foul language? No. Now, the same newspaper, when we write our opinions and submit, if foul words are used, they are not printed. Right? And why are they doing it, on their website, allowing it on the website? Purposefully. I feel that, Srinivas,
Yeah.
purposefully it is being done.
Yeah.
When they allow this to happen, right, certainly their audience size will increase.
Yeah, that's true. But again,
Part of,
those are very good points. But the sheer volume of information. Now, finally, Facebook has promised. For example, let's not even go into the content. Now, when came to know that so many ads were being placed during the 2016 presidential elections in favor of Trump, and many of them fake, now Facebook has promised. And a lot of these ads was rubber stamped. It is coming from Russia. I mean, it was not very difficult to say that is coming from Russia because the account was set up. The money or the payment. They didn't even do that. Now they're saying they are going to keep a watch on foreign sources that, and they're going to look at them carefully and all that. So it is starting in a small way now, but then we clearly don't have all the ideas and things of how this can be, this very important resource can be managed, all right?
Srinivas,
Yeah.
I think, to a great extent, China has been able to control these things. They have their own Facebook, they have their own Google. And is it not possible for each country to have that kind
Yeah.
of phenomenon?
But we can't do, the China is not a model for us, because China has basically censored, and that will not be accepted in India. So China basically has shut it down. In China, or in places like Malaysia also, and Russia, you just can't access. Now then you're getting into a situation where your government is acting as your mummy. Don't see that, don't look that, only do this, and so those are some issues also. China and India, we followed completely different political systems, and what works in China, we won't work here, simply because of because democracy is messy.
So what we hear about China in the news is what China wants us to.
That's true.
Otherwise, they don't let out any information.
Yes, and closed societies won't let you see all the things that are going on. You can only see what they want you to see. Whereas open societies like India, people can come from all over the world and take whatever pictures they want and then write anything, because with democracy it's much open. Whereas you don't know all the things that may be happening in China. China, things are really bad, In China they have this Hoku system, where you're born will decide your destiny for the rest of your life. Okay? So if you're born in a village, 50 kilometers from Bangalore, then you cannot come to Bangalore. They're not going to stop you. But if you come to Bangalore, nobody can employ you. Your child cannot go to school in Bangalore. What else? You cannot get electric connection. You can't get any municipal services. Okay? So that's the Hoku system. And they, Hoku, I think, where, that is so awful if you think about that. And they have that to this day. All right? And so in rural areas, of course, there are schools in rural areas, there's health clinics in rural areas, but then movement is very, very carefully controlled. In in China, you need something like a visa within the country.
Even USA also said there are two citizenship in USA. Country citizenship, again coming back to the state citizenship. We have dual citizenship. Like compared to same thing similar to the China also, right?
No, we are talking of dual citizenship.
No, I want to say for you, same rules is going to applicable for USA also, right?
No, I don't. See, freedom of movement is protected in democracies. The government cannot tell you, within your own country, you can't go there. Unless, of course, you're a criminal, and you have a rap sheet on you. Otherwise, we are free to go where we want, live, as long as we live productive life. In China, it's a policy of the government. They carefully control, and so that rural people cannot come to urban areas and urban people cannot go to rural areas. So like that, since you brought it up, China has that issue. We can never hope to and want to apply something like that in India. Okay? China for the longest time had one-child policy. You cannot have more than one child. They'll make sure that you cannot have the second child. There'll be public shaming if you have a second child. Your second child will not get any benefits like admission in school, things like that. So people were forced to have one child. In India, though family planning was such an important policy in the 70s, there was no force. Of course, Sanjay Gandhi did it during emergency, where people were forcibly taken and operations were done. But after the emergency was over, family planning got such a bad name in India. and they had to change the name from family planning to family welfare, and family planning kind of disappeared as a state policy. So those are some of the so these are challenging, the last slide, these are challenging questions. We should think of ways in which, of course, there's a lot of self-education also. In our, there are so many schools and colleges in India that teach journalism and communication. We must insist on media literacy class. Media literacy has to be on part of the curriculum. At the bachelor's level, it is at a certain level. Postgraduate level, media, literacy can be at other levels. But we have to be literate about media, their place, their role, what they can do, what they cannot do. It's only when you're literate will you be a careful user. I don't think a lot of our young people know all the drawbacks, of these new media. All right, and I show a videotape to my class. And this is mostly centered on high school students in USA, and how the advertising industry now, it's a very interesting video, and I can give you a link to that, probably you can show it to your students, how the advertising industry today is making use of the labor of hundreds of thousands of high school and middle school students for free. So, for example, publicity for the movie Hunger Games. No, Hunger Games is the publicity is done by students, young people, and so different ways of involving them with Hunger Games, and they put out blogs, they put out different stories, and in return they are rewarded. What are they given? Pair of Nike shoes. Oh, okay, fine, 2 pairs of Nike shoes. Nice caps, and kids know, I got my Nike shoe, cool man, and they get trinkets, but their labor is used, and they, by putting their likes and stars, these stars have points, and when you, with the accumulation of this many stars, the gifts you get will increase. And now suddenly they'll say, you're being invited to this rock concert we are having this publicity, all the stars of Hunger Games are going to show up, you are a VIP, you'll get a free ticket, and there you'll sit with them. Me, I'm sitting right next to this, picture, and then you send it out to your friends. But that whole thing is how the labor, and these kids don't know that they are working evening and night for the advertising industry, and actually making it easier for the advertising industry to reach more, because after all, we have learned in our communication classes that we are very influenced by people in our peer group, on certain matters. And so a young person being informed, influenced by another young person is stronger than getting the same message from another age group. So anyway, so going back to that, that video, I think the name of that video is The Power of Like. The Power of Like. And how high school students and middle school students spend so much time to be liked. That is, and how adults using complex psychological models can actually exploit the labor of these young people, So it's you need to be media literate.
Srinivas,
all right. Yes.
All these social media operators, they are all from America, if I am right.
I know. Okay. All right.
Is it not a kind of dangerous thing, for the whole world?
No, probably in the beginning it was, but I think countries like India and China, I think are entering in a big way, and it's not necessarily Americans. So India also is getting very, very savvy, especially the younger groups in India, are getting very savvy with the media. Indians are very skilled in this, and so it doesn't have to be some other country, though initially it has mostly come from US. Okay. Okay, so any other comments? Yes. Huh? Mata, but I have to, you don't have a mic though.
Sir, according to your first point, that expand rules that apply to print, radio, and TV and social media. But now ನೋಡಿದಾಗ sir, social media is playing a very crucial role. ಯಾವ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳನ್ನು ಮೇನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಕವರ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ವೋ ಅಂಥ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲೂ ಇಂದಿಗೂ ಕಾಣ್ಬೋದು. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಚೆನ್ನೈಯ ಫ್ಲಡ್ಗಳು ಬಂದಾಗ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ವಿ ಗೆಟ್ ಟು ನೋ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿದ್ದು ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾದಿಂದ.
ಯಾರು ಬಂದಾಗ?
Chennai floods. When Chennai floods, flood in Chennai has been happened.
Last year we had flooding.
Oh, floods in Chennai.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm talking about that only. Okay, like that only. Now our rules ಅನ್ನು ಬೇರೆ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಬೆಟರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಹಿಡಿತದಲ್ಲಿ ತರ್ತೇವೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಹೇಳೋದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಸತ್ಯ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಿಷಯ, ವೆನ್ ವಿ ಟಾಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಮೇನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ, ಅದು ಒಂಥರ ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಏನಂತಾರೆ, ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಪವರ್, ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಹಿಡಿತ ಕೆಲವು ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ವರ್ಗದ ಜನರಲ್ಲಿರುವಾಗ, ದ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಈಸ್ ರೂಲಿಂಗ್ ಓವರ್ ದ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ. ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ಹೌ ಅಂಬಾನಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬೀನ್ just taking the ownership of the media when the social media is in the hand of the people, so that people can say their people ಜನ ಅವರ ವಾಯ್ಸನ್ನು ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ತಲುಪುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾದಿಂದ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ವಾದ ಇದೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಹೇಗೆ ವಿಸ್ತರಿಸ್ತೀರಾ? ನಾವು ರೂಲ್ಸನ್ನು ಕೇವಲ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಬೆಟರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಾವು ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಾಧ್ಯ?
What is happening now is that you're talking of an activist public. We don't have that yet. ಅದೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. Maybe there are few. Right now that public sphere has been cornered by commercial media. Today we are the consumers of commercial media, whether you like it or not. When we get up in the morning, our eyes, you walk, you drive on the road, the public space is given to commercial media, including political things. Constantly our eyeballs are, some jewelry or some pants, some shirt, something or the other. So we need more use of online media by public groups to create the kind of activity that you're talking about. Again, what has happened now is they are cornered by Google, by Facebooks, and so that is where people are going. So that is the other thing, and technology is not the problem. Today technology is available to all of us at a rather cheap price, but how many of us, civil society groups are involved in a public sphere to bring some kind of a influence on this or that? We still don't have that. Today, most of our media, the model, we started out in India by saying we are going to have media without advertisements. And All India Radio and Doordarshan, initially Doordarshan, prided itself on no advertisements. Okay? All right. But then what happened in the end? Advertisements came, because now today all media, 99% of the media are paid for by commercial advertisements. So who is going to pay? That is another issue. And so ads are very, very important. So it's some of the challenges for public to use some of this. There's a political pressure, but there's also the cost factor. But I'm saying that is very good. And if activist groups, whether you're concerned about environment, whether you're concerned about corruption, then you should. You have to collect like-minded people and create places where you can. But right now we don't see that in great activities, in great quantities. Yeah.
ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೇನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಯಾವಾಗ ಜನರ ಧ್ವನಿ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ವೋ ಆಲ್ಟರ್ನೇಟಿವ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಹಲವಾರು ವೆಬ್ ಪೋರ್ಟಲ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾವೆ ಸರ್. ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದ ವೈರ್, ಸ್ಕ್ರಾಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಕ್ವಿಂಟ್, ಈ ಥರದಾದ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ವೆಬ್ ಪೋರ್ಟಲ್ಸ್ಗಳು ತುಂಬ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಒಂದು ರೋಲ್ ಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ ಇನ್ ಎ ಡೆಮೊಕ್ರೆಟಿಕ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ.
ಆಲ್ಟರ್ನೇಟಿವ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ.
ಯಾ.
I see. Oh, yeah, I would think so. Yes, that's good. That's good.
Unfortunately, the web portals you are referring to, right, they do not have the objectivity and neutrality. They also follow the lines which they want to follow. I look into all of them just to see how one is, right, compared with the other doing. But I find that, they are as bad as the others.
Well, what has happened is, and I agree with you, we grew up at a time when we were told journalism went to journalism schools, where we were told journalism is a social service. That's how we grew up. Journalism is social service. And a journalist is not only a good writer or a good photographer or a good whatever, also abides by certain principles which we all learnt in our school, of which objectivity is one of them. Objectivity. Even what has happened now is that anybody who writes is a journalist. I got a blog. Yeah, I'm a journalist. You might be a great writer. You might be a great photographer. That does not make you a journalist. Okay? And so a lot of the things that come out, as his point in all of these, is that they don't follow the principles of objective reporting of things. And so they might not be the best solution. But probably what he's talking about is not journalism organizations, but public activism. Okay? But one thing you have to keep in mind, this public sphere is a double-edged sword. It can cut in both ways. Just like I can have a space where I can go and create a space where I can bring people together, I can also do other things. I can increase your hatred. Today, there are so many hate websites. And if you get lost in one of those hate, how do you think ISIS recruits? ISIS had no problem in recruiting young people from all over the world by creating outrage, creating hatred. And so today there's freedom to love, there's also freedom to hate. That's why we talked before coming here, freedom or independence comes with responsibility. There is nothing like pure independence. Independence, freedom comes with responsibility. And journalism as a profession came with certain tenets of what is responsible. That is going away. Journalism as we know it has gone away. Today journalism is not social service, but it is returning profit to the shareholders. Today journalism organizations are corporations. Okay? And so what will sell? What will move around? That is very important now. And so the face of journalism also is changing. I'm not saying we should bring the old journalism back, but these are things that we are losing in the process. Yeah? But what I would say is that in development support communication we talk about some of in development communication we have constantly talked about all the problems of development, the usual problems of development, and how development communication must create messages, better nutrition, this, that, but we also need to now talk about some of the needs of today, where development communication must also look at the inequality in the world today. Inequality is increasing, and inequality, when it increases beyond a certain point, will lead to societal problems, okay? And so how do we deal with some of the present problems? What are some of the communicative actions that can be employed to increase power of the ordinary person, technically? So advocacy communication, that's one. Advocacy communication, which has been started by political groups and other groups, is to create communication which is not neutral, it's not objective, but it is activist and advocate. We need this, something like clean air or clean water or whatever, and then become an advocacy for that. Just like public relations organizations and advertisers are using speech to serve their own ends, we have to use the same kind of technique to push other kinds of information that we think are good for the people. So advocacy communication, which is nothing but lobbying. But lobbying for some things that you think that needs to be done. Today, very little of anything can be done today without an orchestrated information campaign and working with them. So information politics. It is not what you say, it's how you say it today. That's very important. And so resistance communication, that's another one. There are many ways of resistance communication. Of course, there's a lot of criticism. I'm not saying all of these are the best. Resistance communication has been criticized, but there's resistance communication all around us today. Maybe you never knew this. Hacking is resistance communication. A lot of the times, people hack not because they're villains, a lot of the time, not all the time, not because they are super bad people. It is to, like, why is it Microsoft gets hacked more than Apple? What is so beautiful about Apple, but Microsoft gets hacked? Apple does not get hacked. Because Microsoft in oligopoly is a very big player. Apple is not. And so I'm a common man. I want to take it out on Microsoft. I can hack Microsoft sites. In US, we have political cartoons on the side of goods trains. In US, next time you see some pictures of goods trains, look at you will see elaborate figures, paintings. These are all by street gangs and others, and they're encoded messages, all right? We have other kinds of resistance communications. Hacking is one, street art is another one.
Graffiti.
Huh?
Graffiti as they call it.
Graffiti, correct. Graffiti, okay? Because these have become our public spaces. Most of the sides of goods trains, by the way, goods trains, how those carriages go all over, right? So if you put a graffiti on that, it can travel a lot. Most of these are gang-related messages. You and I cannot understand the graffiti, but if you're part of some gang, you can know. And this is their way of communicating, their way of resisting an unjust world. That you and I may not, most of the gang, is lower socioeconomic classes. So like that, there's all kinds of resistance. Going on a strike is resistance communication, okay? So like that, there are resistance, advocacy communication, empowerment-related communication. There are many kinds of empowerment-related communication. Social mobilization. You got to get other people in your committee wired up to, they need to know, they need, you need to get the society around you mobilized, and then you need to work media mobilization. However much you may dislike the mainstream media, you still need the help of mainstream. Not all mainstream media all the time are against people. When can you catch hold of them? Again, this is all very strategic, For example, let me give you not mainstream media, mainstream players. Some of the big social injustices have been tackled by taking the help of extremely big players. We all love blue jeans. This gentleman also is wearing blue jeans. I'm also wearing something blue, but it's not jeans. So blue jeans, okay. Where are blue jeans made? They're made in Bangladesh and countries like that. What are the living conditions of people in these sweatshops? Many of these are illegal, and even the legal ones, no proper protection for the workers, they don't get proper breaks, and etc., etc., etc. And so they carried out a campaign, okay, of how to stop all these countries like Bangladesh and other countries of doing this. They got hold of two constituencies. They got hold of college students. So throughout the United States, in major universities, including my university, there were teach-ins. In the teach-in, the young people were told about, you wear blue jeans and walk around, right? Do you know where blue jeans are made and how people who make these blue jeans are treated? No, I don't know. Okay, this is how things are done. Oh, I didn't know that. And so many universities have no jeans day. So on that day, they encourage students to come to university or college and don't wear jeans. This is immediately, the manufacturers of this, they wake up and they listen. Uh-oh. Go after big companies like Walmart. Walmart is the biggest store. They have, I would say there's a Walmart superstore in every town in US. That's a lot of Walmart stores. Bring pressure on Walmart. Tell Walmart, are you a responsible community member? Yes, we are. Then do you know all this stuff you're bringing from these countries? Are you checking on the quality of workplace? Okay. So Walmart, then, in order to protect itself, because Walmart also likes like. Today, like is everywhere. Today, likes is currency. It's worth money. Okay? Walmart then goes and starts putting pressure in Bangladesh, in Vietnam. You can't do that. You have to give workers the same rights they get in United States. They love, like that. Let's take clean water. We all like clean water, okay? But there's so much of dirty water. I know of an example where they teamed up with Coca-Cola. Now, what does Coca-Cola need? Clean water. If there were no clean water, Coca-Cola cannot do business, right? So Coca-Cola's business interest is clean water. Bring pressure on Coca-Cola and say, this clean water that you are using to make all your thing, you have to be a good, corporate citizen, and you have to bring pressure on clean water. And Coca-Cola has actually given lots of money for activities like this, has been a corporate sponsor for clean water. So like this is called information politics. This is also called, a media mobilization. So like that, we need to think outside the box now of how different kinds of communicative actions can be used, again, to give countervailing power to, because at the end of the day, it is the inequity in power. So the powerful groups, powerful communities, powerful people have more opportunities, to do things that they want to do in the way they want to do. And vice versa for those who don't have power. So we need to increase the power of the public. How do you increase the power of the public? What does it take to increase the power? So one of them is people power. People power is very good. If you can get a lot of people to support you, then others will sit up and listen to you. People power. So people power is one of them. Where that can be exploited. So there are many ways in which power also can be increased by providing good information, you know, clean information about things, educate the people. So power is very important. And then you need to work on, and so these kinds of communication we are talking about increases the power of public groups, and so that is another topic completely, how to empower the narratives of the marginalized. Okay, their narratives, their stories are buried because they are marginalized. And people like Foucault and others have said that people in power make their knowledge systems superior to the knowledge systems of people who are suppressed. And so material conditions are directly related to your stories, to your narratives. And narratives of certain classes of people in societies are suppressed. And so you need to empower the narratives, the stories, you know, to bring respect back. So there are many ways it can be done, but all of this makes it very challenging. Also, this is very difficult work. This is not like a walk in the park, empowerment. They are politically risky, and they are extremely time consuming. They take time, but it is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for the excellent lecture. Now, what we do is it's time for lunch. Let's go for lunch. After lunch, we'll assemble here after 45 minutes.
Yeah.
45 minutes. 45 minutes. Yeah.
Lunch we have arranged in that corner room. Please come out to that corner room.